And joining us on this special broadcast is Dr. Devi Shetty. Dr. Devi Shetty is the chairman and executive director at Narayana Health, and he's been very outspoken on everything vaccination. And in this battle against the pandemic, Dr. Shetty has spoken to Republic TV several times. Dr. Shetty, good evening. And yeah, just going through some of your thoughts on vaccinating young parents ahead of the looming third wave that most experts are talking about. I see that you have very strong opinion on it.
Yes, I strongly feel that we should vaccinate all the young parents, at least 300, 400 million of them, as soon as possible, because the experts, the epidemiologists believe that gradually the number of children who are suffering from COVID infection is increasing following the second wave. So if the third wave, if at all comes, which may come, I'm not an epidemiologist, as I said, it is likely to infect the children most because adult population is already infected or immunized. COVID virus will look at some other easy, large group of people, and we have less than 12 years, we have nearly 150, 160 million kids. So they are totally unprotected. So if we can vaccinate the parents, the chances of kids getting the infection is low. And if at all they get the infection and land in the ICU, there is someone to take care of them. Because we cannot send a young father or a mother, parents of 2-3 kids, to a COVID ICU without vaccination.
And Dr. Shetty, what are the present challenges that you see? Now, we're all talking about the vaccination program, yes, and we do face a challenge. Do you think there is a need to change the approach to ensure, to achieve what you just mentioned, to vaccinate young parents? Is there a need to change the approach?
See, I hear every state government, every municipality trying to negotiate with multiple companies for vaccination. Time has come for us to look at buying about 300, 500, 600 million vaccines to vaccinate at least a vulnerable group of young parents who needs to be vaccinated anyway. And if, as a country, if we negotiate together with the economy of scale and also with the advance payment, that is very important. These companies have enough clients. The only thing which will lure them is an advance payment and a very fixed time schedule. India has to know when we are getting the vaccine, and we have to plan it that way. If we do that, believe me, we are in a much, much better position to face the next wave. Time has come for us to really plan ourselves well for the next wave.
Now, it's good that we're at least talking about it, Dr. Shetty, because I remember the last time we spoke, you know, when you spoke to us before the vaccine for all became a reality, you were one of the first experts in the country to say that it is you know, very important for us to vaccinate all the young. And perhaps, you know, and even the Prime Minister has spoken to you. You've been part of several consultations. And now that you're talking, and now that all of us are talking about the need to be prepared for a third wave, now, you have also mentioned how in the course of our preparation, pediatric wards, facilities, infrastructure needs to be ramped up. How do you propose governments tackle this?
See, first of all, I would like to tell you that the number of COVID patients what we have in the country, even the United States and the UK government cannot manage. It is simply not possible for them to manage. So, and I also admit, when it comes to the question of oxygen, our government has done a phenomenal job. I have gone through each and every detail. Now, you may pick hole in terms of distribution of oxygen here, but when the oxygen requirement went from 900 tons to 9,000 tons in a matter of few days, no government in the world can produce this. They have done a phenomenal job. But the complexity of the problem is such, the magnitude is such, that we have to do something different. Now, what is the different when it comes to the question of next wave? If the children fall sick, believe me, we have to send the young parents to the pediatric ICU. And they must be vaccinated, otherwise it's not fair to send them to pediatric ICU. Now, when these parents are watching how the baby is looked after, so far we have managed only the adults. Adults, they take the oxygen and they keep quiet. But the parents, young parents, mother or a father, won't keep quiet. They want to give the best possible care to the child. So in the end, they will become demanding. Today, there are ICUs in the country where there are 20 patients, 30 patients on oxygen, high flow oxygen, ventilator. At night, there are hardly 5, 6 nurses. That cannot go on in a COVID ICU where there are kids and the parents. There is someone monitoring what is happening with not only their kid, the other patients also. So we need to recruit large number of young workforce as soon as possible.
Dr. Shetty, now what do you say about prioritizing vaccinating young parents? You know, in reality, what is happening in most states, and you're aware, they've stalled vaccination for the 18 to 44. Now, the reason I'm asking you this question is I hope that, you know, if anyone's watching this and reading your opinions, what you're saying is very important. Now, if you had to tell the government or tell those who are deciding how the vaccine policy is undertaken in India, what would you tell to them about the third wave and how it needs to be administered? And what are the steps we need to urgently take?
See, the COVID, there is no guidebook on COVID, how to manage it. Nobody knows. We have to be flexible and we should have the humility to accept that I'm going in this path. Obviously, that is not giving me the results. Let me change my path. And this has to be done when you are, it is a war-like situation. In a war, can anybody predict what is going to happen tomorrow? In war, at least to quite a large extent, you can predict because you are fighting with other human beings. And human beings in general have the same philosophy towards fighting with each other. Whereas you are fighting with the unknown and unseen enemy. So it changes its strategy every few days. So we need to be very, very agile and flexible. Now, all these things about choosing who should have vaccine, who shouldn't have vaccine, is because we do not have the vaccine. Let's not get into the past. Let's look at the current. Who makes the vaccine? Their companies. Why they have made the vaccine? To make money. Now, if they want to make money, they have to sell the vaccine. If we go to them as a bulk order for 400 million, 800 million vaccine, and we pay them upfront advance money, believe me, they will give the vaccine at a record period of time. But all of them insist on advance money so that they can escalate their production and they can give it to our requirement. And it is possible. And if we get the vaccine, this is one country which can vaccinate half the country in 1 month. No other country in the world can do it. We can do it. We can do it because we have that many government and private hospitals. See, if 70% of the vaccine is given to private sector, I can tell you that we can vaccinate half the country in less than 1 month. Because we will run a vaccination program 24 hours. Who says you can't give vaccine at 2 o'clock at night? If somebody wants a vaccine and that is the time given to them, they should come. And we are willing to offer their service. We should be flexible. Private sector has the flexibility to manage this massive the number, whereas the government sector has limitation. So we have everything going. We just do not have vaccines. We do not have doctors and nurses. We have doctors and nurses, but they are not currently interested to work in COVID ICU. We have to make an offer which they cannot refuse.
Now, I'll take your point on that, and taking forward, you know, what you said about availability of vaccine. You said it's good that, you know, we have to look ahead and we can't look at the past. Now, while you were speaking, there were a few numbers on screen. Yesterday, both Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute of India have said that they can ramp up the productions by August, by 7.8 crore and 10 crore respectively, which would mean that by August we can have a combined cover of 37 crore people. We did some math, Dr. Shetty, and it came up to about 37 crore people who would have either got their first dose or vaccine or the second dose or both, So 37 crore, and that's not even half of the population. And of course, this number can be ramped up because if they can go up to that kind of a number per month, that is 17 crore per month. It will take some time, but it can be done. And with more vaccines coming, it is a process that can be achieved, isn't it?
We cannot wait. We need to have a firm contract that they will deliver the vaccine within the next 2 to 3 months' time in India. And there are a lot more than 2 companies in the world.
Yes.
Right? I support Indian companies. They have done a phenomenal job. But we have to get all the companies in the world which is making vaccine, which is given on millions of people, just open the door, negotiate with them, give them the advance payment, let them give the money. Any amount of money spent on buying the vaccine is a tiny part of what we are now spending for the lockdown. So any amount is justified. And there should be one agency which is negotiating with them and placing the order.
Well, that's a headline that I take from you, Dr. Shetty, that we cannot wait, and that there should be a central agency that does this on behalf of all states, and it can't be the states alone. If that's what I take away. And one last point before I let you go, Dr. Shetty, because now we see that one of the vaccines, that is Covaxin, has received the approval for phase 2 and 3 trials for children. So that would be the next logical step, isn't it, to vaccinate our children to ensure that there's complete protection. And how long do you think this process is going to take? And are you hopeful of children also getting vaccinated soon?
It's a great thing that children are getting vaccinated, but it is on a trial for more than 12-year-old kids. But we have nearly 150, 160 million kids who are less than 12-year-old. So it is not going to make any difference in our fight against COVID. I would like to congratulate the vaccine company for getting the recognition. It's a great thing what they have done, but that cannot change the current strategy. We have to vaccinate as many kids as possible if it is possible. Yeah. But right now, we are under a very, very, very tight schedule, and we have to really look at what we can do for the third wave. Because we cannot have a reputation of oxygen and remdesivir and the ICU beds. We have to really look at whatever we have done a great job. But the next game we have to play, the rules of the game has undergone dramatic change. It's a different world altogether dealing with the kids. I spent my entire professional life working in the pediatric ICU where complex heart surgeries are done on children. Yeah. It is the most complex thing, managing kids. So I would like every policymaker to understand that it is a different ballgame altogether. We have to seriously address this.
Okay. And do you have an estimation of how many beds India would require?
There is no question of counting the bed because the country doesn't even have 100 pediatric ICUs. We have to use the adult ICU, which has been created for the COVID, for treating the children. We have to educate the adult intensivists and the doctors to manage these children, because in the country which produces 24 million babies a year, we have less than 40,000 pediatricians. We do not have the luxury to think about a pediatrician coming and taking care of these kids. Anybody who can take care of the kids should be allowed of course, they have to be doctors and nurses, and we should create that environment. We have to get the young doctors, nurses excited. And the only way you will get them excited is by giving them grace marks in their NEET exam for the PG, and grace marks for the nurses to pass their final exam, and grace marks for the foreign medical doctors who have been struggling by passing those exams. Just give them a kind of offer they cannot refuse. Money will not attract doctors to go and work in COVID ICU risking their life. I would like you to understand that COVID ICU is not a very happy place to work. There has to be a great motivation. Money will not encourage them.
That's why I asked you that question about how many beds and what sort of facilities we require. One last question on the situation in Bengaluru. That's where you are. We've all been watching the situation. What's your own analysis of what more needs to be done, especially in Karnataka and specifically in Bengaluru?
Bangalore is much better off than most of the other states because all our governments invested heavily on medical education. We have the largest number of medical colleges, nursing colleges, we are much privileged. But with the positivity rate of in my hospital about 39%, we are going to face a lot of problems. I understand. Our only thing what is missing today in Bangalore are the doctors and nurses. We desperately need more young doctors and nurses who are currently not working in the COVID ICU. Existing doctors who have done a fantastic job, existing nurses who have done a fantastic job. They are tired, they are fed up, they are burnt out. You can't flog them. You need to get a bunch of young doctors, young nurses who are currently not working in the hospital. They are sitting at home mugging those multiple choice questions to pass those NEET exam. Just give them a kind of offer they cannot refuse. Believe me, young doctors, young nurses can make magic. They can dramatically change the entire history. You go to tier 2, tier 3 cities, they have big government hospital. Before the COVID, the vacancy for a specialist was 78%. So they hardly had any doctors before COVID. Now what is it now? It can't be better. You just give them few hundred doctors, few thousand nurses. Believe me, they will make those district hospitals as the most vibrant hospital. You do not understand the power of young doctors and nurses. They can do amazing things. Give them an opportunity. Get them excited to work in this place. Let's save life. Whatever we have done, I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it is not up to our expectation. Let's change the rules of the game. Like the way virus is changing the rules of the game, we will change our rules of game.
Well, each one of your answers is a headline in itself. Dr. Devi Shetty, hopefully those who make the decisions listening to you very carefully there. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shetty, for taking your time off and speaking to Republic TV.
Thank you. Thank you.